Well, as the old saying goes, ask and you shall receive, because numerous subscribers of mine have requested that I review this movie. And being a man of the people, I felt the need to oblige. Little did I know, you guys were setting me up to see one of the biggest what the f*** movies of the year. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
The Substance follows Elizabeth Sparkle, renowned for an aerobics show, who faces a devastating blow on her 50th birthday as her boss fires her. Amid her distress, a top-secret laboratory offers her a substance which promises to transform her into an enhanced version of herself. I'm gonna start this review off by saying this movie already gets props for easily being one of the more unique experiences I've had all year at the theater. I knew very little about it prior to seeing it, and honestly, I think that's the best way to go into it. Your lack of knowledge will definitely contribute to how you react when this movie takes a sharp left-hand turn into what the f***ville. And to me, that's the best part about watching a movie, or more specifically, a horror movie. It's the fear of the unknown when you have absolutely no idea what you are about to get yourself into. Prior to seeing it, I heard many people comparing it to the David Cronenberg body horror films that he is known for. And having now seen it, yes, I can definitely see how they made that connection.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
Now, if I'm being honest, body horror is a hit or miss subgenre of films for me personally. Sometimes it works for me and sometimes it doesn't. And you should all know by now that I am not a fan of movies that have excessive amounts of gore. It's just not my thing. And based on how people were talking about it, I thought this would be one of those movies that leaned into that a bit too much, and it would take me right out of it. But much to my surprise, it was a much more balanced experience than I was expecting. This is just as much of a body horror film as it is a psychological thriller and character study. A film that offers a lot of subtle and interesting commentary on things such as age, beauty standards, mortality, and fame. A lot of credit has to go to director Coralie Fargut for that. I wasn't really familiar with the work she had done prior to this movie, but after seeing The Substance, I'm interested to see what more she has to offer.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
This is not another standard, generic, predictable horror film like the ones that Hollywood tends to pump out every single year. Some chances were definitely taken with this film, and I appreciated it for doing so. There is an elevated filmmaking quality to this movie that I think separates it from a lot of its contemporaries. Coralie manages to craft something that I can only describe as a shining, natural-born killers-influenced, almost surreal, fever dream of an experience that is guaranteed to stick with you after watching it. Some of the camera angles and even the way the camera moves in some scenes are all designed to make you feel somewhat uneasy.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Also, if you happen to be an ASMR fan, this might be your favorite movie of the year. If you are one of those people who just find the word moist appalling, then I would steer clear of this. The use of sound in this movie will incite some kind of reaction out of you, and there's just no getting around it. In fact, most of the movie sounded just like this. And you know what? It definitely added to the gross factor of this film on more than one occasion. As far as the more traditional horror moments, yes, as I mentioned, the body horror is there, but if I'm being honest, it wasn't as gross as I thought it would be. Maybe people talked it up a bit too much, I don't know, but there were reports that people were actually walking out of the theater while watching this.
No, don't like that.
Now don't get me wrong, there is some disturbing going on here. And there's some absolutely brilliant uses of practical effects, which are always welcomed. But it wasn't overused, and because of that, you are more taken back by it when it does actually happen. And in the end, I think it was used mostly effectively. I particularly found the way that they showed the aging process of Demi Moore's character to be particularly unsettling. It was like watching the old lady in the bathtub in The Shining take form in real time. It's pretty wild stuff. The only part of all of this that I felt like took it a bit too far happened mostly in the third act. And I'm not saying that it was bad. It just kind of felt like they took the movie one step too far, because at the end it went from being unsettling to being a bit more comical. I understand why they did what they did, and it does make for a wild visual. But I don't know, I'm just of the opinion that less is more in these types of situations, and the third act definitely took a more is more approach.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
And I don't know if that particular finale worked for me 100%. But still, it didn't ruin the movie. As far as the rest of the movie, it's really propelled by some strong and even over-the-top performances. Demi Moore is absolutely unhinged in some of her scenes. And that's something that I don't think I've ever seen from her. And I think the fact that she is an older actress who most of us are familiar with, and we've seen her kind of evolve and age in real time, I think it definitely adds something to the character, and you can tell she's kind of drawing from real life experiences in her performance. Plus the fact that she still looks amazing at her age, and her character is written to be insecure, kind of makes what happens to her all the more tragic.
But you one crazy ass bitch!
Dennis Quaid also turns in a somewhat over-the-top performance that I don't think that I've ever seen him do either. But even though it's over the top, it actually works for this movie, because I felt like it made sense for a Hollywood producer or executive to act the way that he was acting. Almost completely disconnected from reality and operating, looking through this very shallow and one-sided perspective. And then we have Margaret Qualley. And oh my, Margaret Qualley. Let's just say you will not be taking your eyes off the screen if she is on it. I honestly didn't think that this level of sexuality was allowed to be portrayed in female characters anymore, but they definitely pull it off here, and I assure you, it is most effective.
She got a great ass!
And yes, her performance was great as well. It was interesting to see her character's desires to have more and more spotlight consume her and affect her as the film went on. This movie is kind of hard to talk about without spoiling, in case you didn't know, but I am doing my best. Bottom line, I think this is a bold new take on a somewhat familiar concept. We've seen horror films in the past about beauty and about aging, but I don't think we've ever seen it through this lens. It somehow manages to make LA feel like the smallest place on Earth. But it works for the film because it gives it an almost claustrophobic feeling. It's got great performances and cinematography. It relies on the building of tension, situations, and practical effects horror more so than it does tired tactics like CGI and jump scares.
I like it a lot.
More than anything, I would describe the substance as an experience. An experience that is worth having. I like this movie a lot more than I thought I would, and for that reason, I am going to give it the Please Palpatine.
Good.
Y'all be cool. Right on.